Are you considering divorce and wondering what will happen to your valuable assets? Hi, I'm Dippenaar and I'm a family lawyer. Divorce between a high net worth couple may evoke little sympathy, but everyone is entitled to a fair distribution of the assets they have worked hard to accumulate over the years. The longer you and your spouse have been together, the more entwined your financial circumstances are. If you are in your 50s or 60s, you may have a very complex estate, compromising not only the matrimonial home, but possibly a second home, complicated investments, luxury vehicles, works of art and/or antiques, heirloom jewelry, and possibly even a valuable wine collection. How are these assets to be divided when an equal distribution is not practical or even possible? As always, the starting point is the matrimonial regime in place. If you are married out of community of property and there is an antenuptial contract, ANC, or postnuptial contract, PNC, in place, the distribution of assets will be determined by the ANC or PNC. If the accrual system applies, valuation could be very complicated and is beyond the scope of this talk. I'm going to explain what happens in the marriage in community of property where assets are divided equally on the dissolution of the marriage. From a purely mathematical perspective, the simplest way to divide valuable assets is to sell them and to share the proceeds. This is unequivocally fair. It is also totally impractical. In my experience, most people would rather sacrifice a portion of their entitlement than see a cherished heirloom or much loved painting fall into the hands of a stranger. But most are also reluctant to forfeit their right to an asset without a fight. This is why high net worth divorces can drag on for years. You have collected your possessions with love and care and probably shared memories over the years. Parting with a treasure or splitting a collection can be a wrench because of the sentimental or personal value attached. For this reason, the assets of a high net worth estate must be accurately valued by a professional in the relevant field, and the lawyers for both sides must be sensitive to the intrinsic value of assets beyond their financial worth. A forensic accountant can be very helpful in determining the value of a complex estate, but when it comes to specialist items like antiques, artwork, rare books or wine, expert appraisal is essential. An art appraiser, for example, will assess the historical importance of a work or the rarity value of an antique. A wine collection will need to be evaluated by a vintage wine retailer or auction house, rare books by a rare book dealer. When it comes to sentimental value of an asset, a good lawyer will recognize the emotional attachment and seek to negotiate appropriately. For example, if you own an extensive art collection, or even just a few valuable pieces, it may be possible to divide the art according to personal preference. You love Picasso, your spouse prefers the Impressionists. You each take the pieces you like. Any difference in value can be adjusted via other asset distribution. A wine collection can be dealt with in a similar manner. You each select your favorites, or if one of you is aficionado and the other is indifferent, the wine lover keeps the collection and compensates the spouse in another way. Jewelry is trickier, especially family heirlooms. A man may have given his wife a piece that belonged to his mother, expecting it to stay in the family. However, something given as a gift is not a jointly held asset. It technically belongs to the wife. If negotiations are amicable or if a mediator is involved, it may be possible to discuss the future ownership of the jewelry or agree that it remains the property of the recipient but is intended to pass to one of the children. Another factor to consider is potential appreciation or depreciation. A luxury SUV parked in the drive can only reduce in value. By contrast, a painting, antique or wine collection is likely to appreciate. A value will take future value into account in arriving at valuation. It's also worth thinking about maintenance costs. Art and wine need controlled environments to maintain their value. If one of you is moving out of the family home that contains the necessary conditions for the luxury possessions, will you be able to carry the additional costs of maintenance for those assets? The financial implications of asset ownership should be part of the negotiating process. It's easy to see why high net worth divorces can sometimes take years to finalize. Even where there is no animosity and you are willing to consider compromises, the calculations alone are time consuming. Sensitivity and creativity are vital to reach a settlement you can both live with. If you can honestly and without rancor recognize your genuine emotional attachments, differentiate between the personal worth of an item and the urge to prevent your spouse having it, you'll be able to advocate meaningfully for what really matters and avoid drawn-out tit-for-tat battles. Items with no sentimental value for either of you can be liquidated and the proceeds evenly distributed. It may even be possible to negotiate joint ownership, for example, of a holiday home or the family heirlooms. A trust could be established to protect valuable collections, particularly if there are children of the marriage. Ultimately, if you cannot reach agreement through negotiation or mediation, the court will decide the distribution of assets. And the court's decision is seldom exactly what you want, though it will be just and equitable in law. Whether through high conflict litigation or gentler, more respectful mediation process, compromise is inevitable. I always advocate for mediation over litigation. Minimizing the trauma of divorce makes it easier for you to move on and build a new life. I presented an overview of the division of luxury assets in divorce, but each situation is unique and requires careful financial, legal, and tax planning. Specialists often need to be engaged to handle specific asset classes. My firm SC Law has considerable experience in high net worth divorce and asset division in divorce. If you are considering divorce and want to discuss your options, get in touch with me on the number below for a confidential discussion.